Matt Reeves is on a casting tear this week, finding a new Jim Gordon in Jeffrey White and maybe one of his rogues gallery in Jonah Hill. With some very clear changes to the DC EU Batman, we really have to ask, is Matt Reeves the Batman a reboot? Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Matt Reeves' new Batman film and whether it's part of the DC EU continuity, a reboot, or something completely different. Now, if we sit back and think about this, the DC EU history and timeline are still very young in terms of franchises, but it really does appear it could be taking some sort of alteration or even reboot action to help align with future films. Now, when we think about the upcoming Batman sequel, Matt Reeves was brought on quite a few years ago, and along with the current Batman at the time, Ben Affleck, dove into a project that was going to be a prequel to Batman vs. Superman. Eventually, a new script was developed, but that didn't work with Affleck, and he left the project for that and several other reasons. This brought us to Robert Pattinson being added to the cast. Now, this really could go either way. Is it a reboot? Is it a continuation? Or is it something else? Well, let's talk about some of the different possibilities for a second. There are a couple good reasons this could be a reboot. Matt Reeves' recent castings are becoming really less and less transferable, particularly Jeffrey White's casting as Jim Gordon. He clearly isn't the same guy that J.K. Simmons was in Justice League. And this isn't a new change. Apparently, since we heard the rumor that they were trying to cast Mahershala Ali a few months ago, but he was picked up by Marvel to be Blade, leading one to believe that they never intended anybody to believe that it was the same Jim Gordon. There's also the status of Superman and J.J. Abrams arriving on the scene. Rumors over the last year or two have been that Henry Cavill is out, and DC will focus on Supergirl instead. But this very well may have changed now that J.J. Abrams is in the house. There are also a couple of seriously low-hanging source rumors online right now that say Abrams is already seeking a younger Superman, maybe someone to pair nicely with Robert Pattinson. And then there's Pattinson, a completely new Batman. Not just a new Batman, a new vibe, a new motif, and a much more Sherlock Holmes-oriented noir to the character, which we got none of in Batman vs. Superman or Justice League. It seems like Matt Reeves is completely rebuilding the Batverse. And let's be serious, nobody will actually believe this is the same guy. But I have to wonder, will that matter? Let's get back to that in a minute. Now, there are a couple solid reasons to believe this is not a reboot. First and foremost, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam. They all did great, they're all well-received films, and none of these actors are going anywhere. Not to mention that Momoa's Aquaman and Godot's Wonder Woman have already met Batman as well as Superman. Keeping some actors and not the same storylines or not being a continuation would be awfully confusing to fans. Now, the reason this very well may not be a reboot is that's literally what they keep telling the fans. Like, literally. Reeves, Gunn, Jenkins, Warner Brothers themselves, pretty much everybody. So, yeah, that's kind of a big point. But do they have something else up their sleeve? And as I was reading these directors' responses, I thought, does it even matter? Here's why. It very well could be neither. Recently, a fan questioned James Gunn on social media about the possibility of a sequel or a reboot, and James Gunn's reply was telling. And he said, "Are those my only two choices?" Pretty interesting, huh? And it really does imply that they're going someplace different we're not expecting in the Suicide Squad. That's not the only DC film in production with a different take on sequel. Patty Jenkins, director of Wonder Woman and the upcoming Wonder Woman 1984, says it's not a sequel. She said, "It's a standalone film in the same way that Indiana Jones or Bond films are, instead of one continuous story that requires many installments." Now, if we listen to Patty carefully here, she may have said something important. James Bond. You know, James Bond. The ability to rotate actors, adjust storylines, and be completely unapologetic about it. By using the continuity of films simply as a plot device when it works, and discarding it when it doesn't serve the story. This, very well, may be a key part of the formula for DC films moving forward, and implementing any new films down the road. This seems to make even more sense based on what former Warner Brothers head Kevin Tsujihara said. When talking about the upcoming slate, he said, "You're seeing much more focus on individual experiences around individual characters. That's not to say we won't at some point come back to the notion of a more connected universe, but it feels like that's the right strategy for us right now." Given all this information, I think DC's plans are pretty simple. Not a reboot, but a restock. Whatever toys work in the sandbox that is the DC Films universe, they will play with and will try to make quality products. And whatever toys are broken get replaced with a new one that might be better. No questions asked, just move forward. This pretty much will be like a new artist working on a book who draws a character differently or a new writer giving a new take. But there is one simple ingredient that is going to be required to make this work. Quality. Yes, let's be real, quality matters. And fans will pick this apart and really will care that it's not connected if it's not very good. The moaning, complaining, and boohooing about really great films is pretty much muffled by praise and acceptance. A new Batman film will make whatever happened in the past just noise, history, or irrelevant if the film is good enough. Nobody is going to walk out of a 5-star Batman film talking about how disconnected it was from the last set of movies. At this point, the fans will just want to move forward with more good stories. The basic simple fact is, all they have to do is blow people's socks off, and fans will accept whatever this is, a reboot, a restock, a change, or something else, with open arms. So what do you guys think? And what do you think the plans are for the DC Universe and the Batman? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you press like below, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.